What's up? It's Miles. Today I'm going to talk about how traveling helped me get over my social anxiety. Up until I was about 20, going on 21 years old, social anxiety was a pretty big part of my life. Meeting new people was an incredibly nerve-wracking experience. I didn't really like going to parties unless I was drunk because talking to people when I wasn't drunk was pretty difficult. I'd be sitting in class and instead of being able to focus on the lesson or work with a partner, I'd be just freaking out over how that person was probably judging me or how the classroom, everybody in it thought I looked like an idiot and things like that. It was just a lot of really poisonous thoughts that were going on in my head when it came to meeting and interacting with new people. I would say the worst part of it was, and it's so crazy to think back to it now, is just walking anywhere on campus, or if I was home, walking in a mall, any kind of public setting, there would just be this constant pressure in my chest and my heart would pound for no reason, my palms would get sweaty. And I don't know if it was the thought of meeting individual people, but there was just a sense of constant judgment, constant pressure to be perfect in a certain way, to walk a certain way, to look a certain way. So it wasn't fun. And I hope by sharing this video and kind of my experience with traveling and how it helped me, I could hopefully offer some value to people who are struggling with it themselves. So how did traveling help me get over my social anxiety? Well, the first and pretty much main way that it helped me was just by improving my self-confidence in general. The nature of traveling is one of being out of your comfort zone. So being in a new country, unfamiliar country with an unfamiliar language, you're bound to be put in uncomfortable situations, and those situations, while they'll be painful in the moment, will help you grow. So the first time I went to Spain in 2013, my Spanish level was moderate at best, probably below average, and I was completely unfamiliar with Spanish culture. So from the moment I got off the plane, I was faced with a language I could barely understand, and it was scary. I'm not gonna lie, the first few weeks in Spain were really hard. Even the first 2 months, the culture shock and everything, it was tough. But getting through all that and communicating, I had a Spanish host family, so that was a challenge in and of itself because they didn't speak any English, and living with someone who you can't communicate with all the time is definitely a challenge. At the end of it all, in those 4 months after that, I felt like not a completely different person, but a lot more grounded. Whereas my whole focus in college and high school was on how others perceive me and how they might be judging me, which I think is the main source of my social anxiety, at least. I started to realize that, well, I can be okay. I am strong enough. I am capable enough to survive in a foreign country. And I didn't just survive, I had a great time too. It was challenging, but I met new people, I dated new girls, I don't know, I pushed myself every day, and I'd never really done that before. So in the past 2 years, since when I've been teaching on my own here, it's been an even more challenging experience sometimes. I had to come here and find a place on my own. I had to start a job that, frankly, I'd never taught before. I've never been in a classroom setting before. So it's just every day I'm put in uncomfortable situations, and it hurts at the time, but each time I face these challenges, I come out the other end feeling a lot better. So what does that mean for my social anxiety? Well, now I can walk around in a crowd. I could go on a bus. I can, meet a stranger in the street or in a bar or something like that. And I realize that I can still be nervous, of course, but it's not the end of the world. Whether or not one person likes me, it doesn't matter. It's okay because I've done stuff that I'm really proud of, and I've survived really uncomfortable experiences. So a rejection or an awkward moment doesn't really do much anymore. The other way that I think traveling really helped me get over my social anxiety was making me stay in hostels. So nobody made me stay in hostels, but they're the cheapest way to find accommodations for the most part when you're traveling to different cities and different countries. If you're not familiar with a hostel, it's basically it's nothing like that movie Hostel, so don't think anything like that. It's basically a much cheaper, much more socially oriented, I guess you'd say, hotel. So you have a hotel where you get your own room, or an Airbnb where you get your own apartment. In a hostel, you're usually going to share, unless you pay extra for a single room, you're usually going to be sharing a room with 4 to sometimes even 12 different people. These are people from different countries, speak different languages. So it's a situation that forces you to be around a lot of different people in very close proximity. The cool thing about hostels, and this is what helped me the most, was there's a certain vibe in most of the hostels I've stayed at that's just very social. The people who stay in hostels are generally very friendly and expect to meet people. So the first couple times I stayed in a hostel, I met at least 5 or 6 new people every time. And at first it's really scary, and even now, staying in hostels, there's always that moment of anxiety when you see somebody, you go in your room, and there's a couple people in there, and you're like, do I say hi? Will they think I'm weird if I just start talking to them? And sometimes I let it get to me, and I don't start up a conversation, and I stay quiet, and I let that social anxiety kind of rule over me. But every time that I pushed past it and said hello to a new person, it's gone amazing. I've never had a bad reaction. I've had awkward conversations, and I think this is something that's really occurred to me a lot since traveling, is that awkwardness is inevitable. When you're meeting new people, when you're in any situation, you're gonna have awkward moments. But, other people are just as awkward too. I think there's this kind of weird perception that you're the only person who's uncomfortable in a new situation when you're meeting somebody. And that's BS, because you could see it on other people's faces, and the more I talk to people and the more comfortable I get it's interesting. You can see the people who are going through the same thing that you were in the past. So I'll go in a hostel, and now I can just say, hey, what's up? I'm Miles. Just start opening conversations easy. But you'll see other people are kind of like, should I talk? Should I be a little nervous? And I found that actually by starting a conversation with someone, you're actually doing everyone a favor, because you're taking that social pressure off them to have to make a decision. I found that there's really no right way to start a conversation. A lot of times my anxiety stemmed from, how do I start talking to people without sounding weird? How do I just do things perfectly? And now I just say, hi, my name's Miles. What's your name? Okay, where are you from? Oh, what are you doing? And a conversation starts. Sometimes the person's not in the mood to talk. Sometimes you meet a really friendly person. But I think that hostels in general, just the sheer amount of people that you're meeting on a daily basis. So in a big hostel, you'll meet 10, 20 people in a night. And then if you go on a pub crawl or something, you'll meet a lot of different people. So that it really exposes you to not just a bunch of new people, but also to a bunch of new people who are pretty open. So for me, I think taking my hostel experience, it made me realize that, oh wow, people are nice. People want to be talked to. People want to be social. It's okay to talk to people. I don't have to worry about them judging me because they're nervous too. Let's just have a good time and enjoy each other's company, that kind of stuff. And now, in other parts of life, people aren't always as social as they are in hostels, but I definitely feel like it's okay to talk to people. It's okay to meet new people, and there's not nearly as much pressure as I put on myself, or as I think there is. Overall, I think traveling has helped me tremendously in getting over my social anxiety. Some other things that have helped me though, meditation, and I did start getting into meditation and mindfulness around the time I studied abroad in Madrid for the first time. So I'm sure that kind of played a role in my development and my improvement in this area. But I'll just say traveling is the best way because it pushes you so far out of your comfort zone that the little petty things that give you anxiety now, and not to belittle your anxiety or anything like that, but the little stuff that you think is in your head is so important, because I was there, like the way someone looks at you, or the way someone responds to you, or you build it up in your head and you're like, oh my god, this person must hate me, why did I say that, are they looking at the sweat stain in my armpits or something like that, like all the stuff you think people care about. After you've traveled, after you put yourself through the grinder of uncomfortable experiences, it doesn't mean anything. It still sucks sometimes, you still feel uncomfortable, but it doesn't have that power over you that it used to. So if you have social anxiety and you feel up to it, I definitely recommend taking a trip, maybe to Europe, any foreign country really, whether it be a vacation, study abroad if you're in college, teach English like I'm doing. I'll put a link right here to the post where I talk about how you can do that. And if you have any questions about how I've dealt with social anxiety in other ways, or any suggestions for things I could talk about in this area, because this is the first time I really talked about this in any kind of public setting. So I'm open to suggestions. I'm happy to help if you need advice. So let me know. And as always, thanks for watching.